We're getting a new Zelda game soon, but what is it going to be? Before I get into that, just be sure to subscribe. So there has been a decent amount of Zelda content in the past few years. Like we got the new Hyrule Warriors this year, we got Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, the Switch 2 editions this year, which I don't really care about, but they did happen. We got Echoes of Wisdom in 2024, Tears of the Kingdom in 2022, but we have not actually gotten a Zelda remake since 2021 with Skyward Sword, and it's going to be 5 years since we've gotten our last one. So I think that's the most likely case for the next Zelda game, especially with it being the 40th anniversary and there being so many old Zelda games that just don't have HD versions. Like, remember when Nintendo was on their streak of just remaking or remastering a Zelda game like every year? Like starting with Ocarina of Time in 2011, we got Wind Waker a couple years later, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, Link's Awakening, Skyward Sword. Literally every 3D Zelda game has been remade or remastered, but the 2D games surprisingly have not been. The only one that we've gotten a remaster of is Link's Awakening, which we actually got 2 remasters. We got DX and the Switch version. So I think there's 2 very, very likely games that will happen. I think it has to be one of them that will happen for the 40th anniversary. And before I get to that, I do want to talk about a new game. So some people might ask about that. I just don't think there's any chance that happens. It's only going to be 2 years since Echoes of Wisdom and 4 years since Tears of the Kingdom. And with how long 3D Zelda games take nowadays, I think at best for a new 3D Zelda game, like the absolute most we'll get is a trailer for a game that will come out in like 2028, maybe 2027, but I can't see Nintendo releasing a new 3D Zelda game, just announcing it next year and then releasing it. It will only be 4 years after Tears of the Kingdom. So I'll talk a little more later in the video about what I think that could be like, but I do want to talk about the more likely thing that's going to happen. So there were some patents posted, there was some interviews with Eiji Aonuma, and people are pointing to that as evidence. I don't really want to use that as evidence. I think we could talk about it as a possibility, but I think it just makes sense that Nintendo is going to want to have something for Zelda's 40th anniversary. I believe Skyward Sword, I believe that remake came out for the 35th anniversary. So the most likely thing I think will happen will be an Ocarina remake, because while we did get one on the 3DS, that's going to be 15 years old next year. I believe it came out in 2011. It was one of the first games on the 3DS. So that's 15 years ago on hardware that was probably 15 years old. So there's no real modern way to play Ocarina of Time. Like, I love Ocarina of Time. It's either my favorite or second favorite Zelda game ever, but it has definitely aged a little bit rough. Like, the camera's pretty bad. It obviously doesn't look the greatest, even though I don't like to judge games like that, but it is still nice to see a more modern looking version of an old game. Now, I think some people just aren't going to want this. Like, no matter what, they'll be unhappy with the remake since it's not the original. I would be all for it if Nintendo really just a lot of effort into this, and maybe if they even bundle Majora's Mask, if they make a remake of that with it, that would be even better. They'd probably charge like $80 for it, but getting remakes of 2 of the best video games ever made in full 4K, that would be a dream come true for a lot of Zelda games. Like, it would make me want to replay them, because unlike something with the Galaxy games that really didn't need remasters, or at least they didn't need the type of $70 remaster that we got, these are games that could really use full remakes to make them just better experiences and get more people into the series. Because I know a lot of older fans kind of act like you're crazy or you're wrong if you say you have trouble playing a game that's very old now, a game that's 30 years old. But someone who was maybe 15 years old, maybe a little younger, and grew up with like the Wii U or the 3DS, or maybe even younger, I guess they might have even grown up with the Switch. Like, maybe they didn't get a chance to play the 3DS remakes. Maybe the original games scare them off. And instead of shaming people for not wanting to play an old game, if there's a modern version of this to play, I think that they should be encouraged to try out the game, because maybe if they like that, they'll be more willing to try out other games in the series. So that's just a little bit about my rant about people who are just fully against remakes. I think as long as it doesn't take away us getting a brand new Zelda game on time, I'm all for it if a different team works on it. We've seen so many different fan projects in Unreal Engine where people make these beautiful worlds in either Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time. It really makes you want to just play one of these, like officially a full-fledged game made by Nintendo, where we get to experience these stories with beautiful graphics. And another one I think is also very likely, I've just had a gut feeling about this, is that we get Oracle remakes, because these games can be pretty rough to play today. Like, they're still very good games, but they are Game Boy Color games. Like, they have a lot of the quirks of that era. They're not the easiest games for someone to get into. And if it just got the Link's Awakening treatment, easy few million copies sold. Obviously, it would be bundled, I would hope, but you could even do just the Link's Awakening style that was used for Echoes of Wisdom, and that shouldn't be too tough for Nintendo to make, and you just introduced a whole new generation to 2 of the most underrated Zelda games. I've seen other people talk about Minish Cap or Phantom Hourglass or Spirit Tracks, and especially with Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, that's interesting because there's no way to play these games on the Switch, because the Oracle games you can play on the Switch. Same with Minish Cap. And with Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, these are 2 of the only 2D Zelda games you can't play on Switch. Like, there's a few others, but these are good games that are just products of their era. Like, they do look pretty rough with the DS era graphics. There are some pretty big quirks in them, things I would hope would be fixed. Like a very specific dungeon in Phantom Hourglass specifically that does not need to be named. You all know what I'm talking about. It's become something recently where people pretend that it's just a hive mind that hates it and it's not actually bad, but just people listening to others online and repeating the same opinion. And if you like it, that's totally fine, but it definitely was one of my least favorite parts of Phantom Hourglass. And something I wasn't a big fan of for both of them was the touch controls. I don't think it was the worst thing ever, but normal controls are just so much better, and if we got remasters of these or remakes of these on the Switch, that would be fixed. So personally, I think you could argue these games need it the most. I love Minish Cap 2, and I'd be down to see a remake of that, but I don't really think that's gonna get it. I don't think it needs a remake as much as some other games. So now, like I mentioned earlier in the video, what about a new game? What could we see for a new Zelda? Maybe we don't get a remake at all. Maybe we just get an announcement for a game coming in like 2032 or something. What would that Zelda game be like? So it's pure speculation. We know nothing about it. I can promise you Nintendo is working on the next 3D Zelda. I think that should be obvious. And if they've been working on it since Tears of the Kingdom, it's gonna be 4 years into development at that point, so I think they might even be ready to show it. And the big question is Nintendo gonna go with the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom style game, or are they gonna revert to more traditional Zelda? Something I'd like to see is more of a balance. I love Breath of the Wild, I love Tears of the Kingdom, arguably 2 of my 3 favorite Zelda games. I just love these games. But I also love Twilight Princess, I love Wind Waker, I even love Skyward Sword, even though I have my issues with it. And of course I love Ocarina of Majora's Mask, the first 2 3D Zelda games that really set the formula. So I don't want that style of game to be dead forever, because we haven't gotten really a traditional 3D Zelda game, quote-unquote traditional, since Skyward Sword, since that really isn't traditional. But that's been 15 years. If you want to go back to Twilight Princess, that's gonna be 20 years old, damn. So it's been a very long time. So I would like to see Nintendo not just make a sequel to Tears of the Kingdom. I would like to see a more return to form Zelda game that takes some open world aspects from the recent games. I highly doubt they're just gonna reuse the same world. That'd be a little ridiculous to do it for now 3 games in a row with the same map, or roughly the same map. So I'm sure it'll be very, very different. I'd like to see a game more focused on just a story that you actually just play through instead of a story that you just piece together. And while I do enjoy the art styles of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, sometimes I just think about the Wii U demo that they showed all the way back in 2011, I think, of what Zelda could look like in HD, where it was a more stylistic, realistic art style, if that makes sense. And I'd love to see something like that to just change it up, because Zelda games almost always have very distinct art styles, so I'd want to see something different. But I don't know what we're going to get. I think there is a good chance, thinking about it more, that we actually do get an announcement for the 40th anniversary. If Nintendo really wants to do something big here, they'll probably have a direct where they show off some info about the movie, where they show off a remake that's coming out next year, and maybe where they even show off the next 3D Zelda game, even if it's just a teaser, because the timeline does match up. So 2011, Skyward Sword came out, and then I want to say 2014 or 2015, that's when we got the announcement of Zelda Wii U, which would become known as Breath of the Wild. That's 3 to 4 years depending on when they revealed it. Breath of the Wild comes out in 2017, then I think it was even 2019 when Tears of the Kingdom was announced, and we just knew it as Breath of the Wild 2, and then it came out in 2022. So it's going to be 4 years since that. So I think it's a very good possibility we do get an announcement. It just won't come out next year, and that would be a perfect opportunity for it, marketed with the Zelda movie, with the Zelda remake, whatever one we get, and then it'll probably come out in 2027, maybe 2028. I think if the Zelda movie comes out in 2027, that's when we're going to get the game, because they'll market each other. Like with the Mario Galaxy remasters, it kind of feels like they just made these remasters because the movie was coming out, and they wanted to use it as an opportunity for some cross-marketing where the movie gets people interested in the games again, and then the people who play the games get interested in the movie. And it is a good marketing tactic, so I think Nintendo will do that, or something like that. But anyway, this is all just speculation. We only had the very, very minor leaks and details that I went over before. But let me know, what are we seeing next year for Zelda? Are we getting a remake? If so, what game? Are we somehow going to see a new game? Like, are we going to see it come out, or are we just going to see a trailer? What do you want to see from the next Zelda? Be sure to let me know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to Game Domain. I'll see you next time.